Hello, my name is Alissa DeBonaventura. Today I will be speaking about the effects of breastfeeding on human development. I plan on providing you with educational information that I find extremely interesting. I picked to research this specific topic and be able to speak about it with you today just because it's something that I am extremely passionate about. I'm a mother of 2 children. They're 3 years old and 16 months now. And I have been breastfeeding nonstop for a little over 3 years now. So I feel that I'm educated on this topic, but at the same time, I'm always willing to learn more. And there's always new studies being developed, which is great because it's a revolving door. There's always something new that you're learning, and I think that's a wonderful thing. So as I look at my children, I essentially just see the effects that breastfeeding does have on children. And I think if you look around and you do comparisons, you can see the difference between a breastfed child and a formula-fed child, which nothing is wrong with formula at all. But it's extremely beneficial to the child from infancy all the way through adolescence, really, into adulthood. If you can breastfeed as a mother. So anytime that I get the chance to speak about breastfeeding, I'm overjoyed, totally excited to be able to speak with somebody or to educate someone just about how great it is. So here we go. So to start, one positive effect that breastfeeding has on human development is improved cognitive development. According to a new study, breastfeeding for a longer period of time improves a child's understanding of language at the age of 3. And it actually shows higher test scores on intelligence tests at the age of 7. So with this study, researchers suggested that you should be feeding your infant through 6 months exclusively breast milk. Once they hit 6 months, introduce other foods. They can get different sources of food, but make sure that you're still breastfeeding from 6 months until a year. They get that first year in, and it's great. It's wonderful for the baby, not just for immunity or, attachment issues, but honestly because of the brain. Like, you are totally shaping this awesome brain and many other things as well. So they do suggest if you get that full year in, you're doing great things. So, however, there was a study that showed younger children, and they were at the age of 3, sitting there coloring, drawing, fine motor skills, things like that, and there was no difference. There was no link at all that showed they had better test scores as a breastfed baby. So with all of this being said, it's definitely improved. It's a proved fact that cognitive development is being improved throughout childhood if this baby or child was breastfed as an infant. So a second great effect is the health benefits that breastfeeding can provide to your infant. It's wonderful. You are providing your baby with every type of nutrient or every type of vitamin, every type of immunity building little blocks, and you're shaping their immune system. You're shaping the way their actual health benefits. You're laying it all out and starting this nice, clean slate of health, of goodness. So, and that all comes from the cells, hormones, and antibodies that are actually in the breast milk. These all protect the baby from different illnesses. This protection is actually always changing to meet the baby's needs. Breast milk is not like formula. Formula, you have it, here you go. It'll feed the baby. It will, make the baby get vitamin D, vitamin A, all their different levels that they need. Here's their iron. But what's special about breast milk compared to the formula is that formula can't change. It stays the same. Whereas breast milk can change, and it changes to meet the baby's needs that are always changing. It changes, there's been a proven fact that it actually even changes when a baby is sick. It knows when your baby's sick. What it does is actually sucks in their saliva. It almost like transfigures and transcribes all that it needs to do to come out with, hey, here's my new milk for you because I can tell that you're fighting the common cold. So I'm going to help you out and boost you up with some more vitamin C or whatever it is really doing. But it's very cool because it's always meeting the baby's needs and what this baby needs. So it starts out as colostrum, which is the pre-milk. This comes in right after mom delivers. So it's full of antibodies to protect this newborn. Newborns are coming into contact with everything for the first time. You know, grandma, grandpa, they have this germ and that virus, and they're carrying this cough over here, you know. So they're always being introduced to different germs. And it's very important to have that type of protection. So colostrum's full of this. It's also higher in protein and sugar than the full milk is. So even a small amount can hold off the baby's hunger. Then a few days after mom delivers, usually roughly around 3 to 4 days, her full milk comes in. Full milk at this point, again, breast milk changes, so full milk has changed. So at this point, it's the word I'm looking for. It's thicker and it's just what the baby requires. It's a lot of calories, and it actually is higher in both sugar and volume at this point than the colostrum was. And it's honestly just fueling the baby. Get as many feedings as you can because the baby's going through so much growth at this period. So the mature milk is designed to be digested quickly so the newborn will eat often. Another piece of information is that research has proved that breastfed babies have lower risks of asthma, obesity, ear infections, and even chronic illnesses as in type 1 diabetes, Crohn's disease. So, you know, older sister, older brother, they come home from school, bring home a new virus that they, you know, unfortunately got from another child. And again, this breast milk is here to protect against the virus. Anything that's, you know, essentially not great for their immune system, breast milk is going to do its hardest to fight back and make sure that this baby doesn't get sick. So breastfed babies also, which is I think great, are at a lower risk for SIDS. SIDS is sudden infant death syndrome and is actually reduced by more than 50%. There was a study, the researchers identified 288 different studies on SIDS and breastfeeding from 1966 to 2009. They ended up narrowing down their analysis to only 18 studies that met the basic quality criteria. The results ended up showing that for infants who received any breast milk for any duration, the likelihood of SIDS was 60% lower than a formula-fed baby. For infants who were breastfed at 2 months of age and older, the risk was 62% lower. Exclusive breastfeeding without any use of formula for any duration appeared to provide the biggest benefits, obviously. The risk of SIDS ended up being shown as lowering the risk at 73%. Although all these findings are only based off of observational studies, they cannot be proven, they cannot prove a direct cause and effect relationship between breastfeeding and SIDS because there's no plausible biological reasons. So for example, breastfed infants may be more easily aroused from sleep than formula-fed infants are at 2 to 3 months of age, which is within that 2 to 4 month peak age of where SIDS cases show. In addition, breastfeeding delivers antibodies known as immunoglobulins, so they may help protect infants from infection during that period that they are most at risk of SIDS. So breastfeeding allows the mother to make food that is perfect for her baby. Makes the baby have a great immune system, protects the baby from multiple different viruses, colds, illnesses, diseases, whatever you want to say. And on top of all that, it also protects against SIDS, or at least lowers the risk by, again, over 50%. So it's not just milk, it's not just food, it's nutrient-filled, totally positive effects from breastfeeding, which is great. So all in all, as a mother chooses to breastfeed, she's not just making a choice, she's actually investing in her baby's future. The infant's receiving tons of nutrients that are shaping his or her immune system, which is essentially an important building block of a human's life. This is the beginning, and I'm going to make sure that I have a healthy start. Another effect that I personally think is extremely important is the effect of breastfeeding that it has on mental health. I'm not only speaking about infancy, but I'm speaking through toddler and childhood years, through adolescence into adulthood. There was a paper written on psychosocial development by Richard Lawrence. He returns to an earlier observational work by Newton. In these studies 40 years ago, there was an ongoing discussion of the challenges conducting research on breastfeeding. A primary concern then, and still now, is the definition of breastfeeding. What is breastfeeding? Lawrence noted that breastfeeding occurs not only as a response to hunger, but also as a mechanism of decreasing a child's stress and discomfort. Therefore, we would be expected to play an important role in the child's psychosocial development. So actually, in this paper, it was brought to the reader's attention that breastfed children are more cooperative and less likely to drop out of school. According to an Australian study that I found pretty interesting, is that breastfeeding may be an indicator for a secure attachment status, which is known to have a positive influence on the child's psychological development through adulthood. This same study actually explains that breastfeeding for a longer duration appears to have significant benefits for the onward mental health for the child into adolescence. Therefore, interventions aimed at increasing breastfeeding duration could be a long-term benefit and for adolescent mental health. So with all of this evidence, I feel that it is extremely safe to say that breastfeeding has wonderful effects on a child's mental health. After searching the web, reading numerous books, and breastfeeding my own children for over 3 years, I believe I'm very educated in this whole concept of breastfeeding and the effects that it has, obviously. I do think that any mother that even tries to breastfeed her baby is making such a smart choice, not only for herself, but for the baby. Long-term effects are obviously what I'm trying to get at. It's essentially building a good foundation, health, mental health, and even if you think about it in a certain way, just their well-being, developing their brain, giving them the nutrients that they need. These are all great effects, and these will last a lifetime. So build the great foundation now and roll out that mat that they can continue on that path. I hope today you've learned a few things on breastfeeding. I hope I was a great educator. And I feel that, if you do understand it, you will, agree that breastfeeding does have great benefits and has wonderful effects on human development. And it, in depth, it stays with the infant from infancy all the way through to adulthood. So again, I hope you learned something great, and I thank you very much. Bye-bye.